It is time that those of us that so galvanised ourselves to create Brexit continue the revolution against the elites, and we establish in law in the United Kingdom something akin to an American free speech law, so that Speaker's Corner is not an anomaly, but rather Speaker's Corner is normative to anywhere in the country. Free speech is essential for a healthy democracy. If we cannot criticise the trans agenda, if we cannot criticise Islam, then we are in a situation where certain kinds of speech are being shut down, critical speech, which means that critical thinking is also being shut down. I want to talk about the state that we live in.
All right.
And I want to ask you the question, what kind of country do you want to live in? What kind of nation state that you want to live in? Because the fact of the matter is that we have stumbled ourselves into a world, an Orwellian world, in which there are literally now crime, non-crimes going on in the UK. And I'm referring to the case of Harry Miller, who himself was a former police officer, who posted on Facebook comments that it's fair to say were critical and possibly dismissive of the trans agenda. And he was contacted by a PC gull who contacted him from Humberside Police, saying that he had come to check his thinking. Now just think about what you've just heard. A police officer in the United Kingdom has called up a citizen of the United Kingdom saying that he wants to check his thinking. What kind of world do we live in where the police feel that they have the right and the ability to police our thoughts? Anyway, what happened was that someone down south, another snowflake, had complained about these Facebook posts and condemned them as being hateful. And the police are led by their guidance to treat any such thing as a crime. So they in their reporting, they have a victim, they have a crime, which in this case was hate speech or transphobic speech, and they report it as a crime. But then there's one of the subcategories in the report, it's also described as non-crime. So it's on a crime report with a victim, which means that there's a perpetrator, and then it is reported as a crime non-crime. And this will appear on a DBS check. So say I'm investigated for a crime non-crime of hate speech. That is recorded on the police records, and then a DBS check will bring up that crime to my possible future employers, who will hear, if the police officer choose to disclose it, that I have been involved in hate speech. But the thing is, this reporting and this logging of your criminal activity never goes before a court, is never tested in front of a jury. You're not able to give any defense. You never get to face your accuser. You're guilty by accusation alone. And no evidence is needed. None. What kind of country do you want to live in? Because for too long, too many of us have been politically inactive, whilst a village of elites, whilst a village worth of people have been fashioning the laws that they want to create to fashion society in the direction that their agenda demands. What kind of society do you want to live in? Because your inactivity and apathy and your dismissiveness of the importance of politics has allowed this village of people to create a situation where you can be found guilty of a crime non-crime that will have real-world effects on your employability without a single day in trial or court. And they have been able to create that because too many of us have been too silent about the importance of free speech. It is time that those of us that so galvanised ourselves to create Brexit continue the revolution against the elites, and we establish in law in the United Kingdom something akin to an American free speech law, so that Speaker's Corner is not an anomaly, but rather Speaker's Corner is normative to anywhere in the country. Free speech is essential for a healthy democracy. If we cannot criticise the trans agenda, if we cannot criticise Islam, and I'm going to come on to that momentarily, then we are in a situation where certain kinds of speech are being shut down, critical speech, which means that critical thinking is also being shut down. Now, I mentioned Islam, not because I just like to drop it in, as I'm often accused of, but because the British government is considering passing a law against Islamophobia.
Ooh.
A law against Islamophobia that defines criticism of Muslimness as a form of hate speech. And within the proposal, this is what it says, that it is a form of hate speech to criticise or to object to the idea that the Muslim community can seek self-determination. That's how far that law goes. They basically took the words for anti-Semitic speech and just replaced the words anti-Semitic with Islamophobic, meaning that criticising Israel's existence is a form of anti-Semitism, so criticising the idea that Muslims can seek self-determination within an Islamic state is a form of Islamophobia. In other words, criticising Sharia law is a form of Islamophobia.
Ooh.
Whilst you are sleeping, a village of people are taking away your free speech piece by piece, drop by drop, and you're letting them. And you're letting them because you see politics as something that you should not get involved with. You see politics as something that you arrogantly dismiss. Well, you need to stop doing that. You all need to become politically active in pushing the boundaries of freedom of speech out as far as they can go. Now, yes, I'm a Christian. Christianity does not teach free speech within the church. You can't go into the church, say you're a Christian, say you're part of a fellowship, and then go around attacking the resurrection, denying God's existence. You will be excommunicated. Within the Christian community, we do not practice free speech amongst ourselves. However, the price of me advocating free speech for everyone is that I recognise that my own faith can be mocked and criticised. And it is mocked, and it is criticised. But we don't start to suppress that speech through arguments about Christophobia. If my faith can be mocked and criticised, then the faith of the Hindus over there can be mocked and criticised. But who will call me a Hindu phobe if I mock or criticise Hinduism? But if I criticise Islam or the trans agenda, I am accused of phobic speech. If I criticise communism, I am not accused of commiphobia. If I criticise Nazism and National Socialism, I'm not accused of Nazi phobia. But if I criticise Islam, or if I criticise trans agenda, I'm criticised as having a phobia. This is the duplicity that this village of people have been able to create. It is time that you get active, politically active. That at every question time, there's someone in the audience arguing for free speech. That you go to your MPs and you demand that they pass a law that allows free speech. That you sign petitions demanding free speech. That you protest in the streets demanding free speech. that you only vote for parties that will give you a free speech law and that will undo all of this hate, I'm the latest victim agenda. Failing that, O church, O Christians, if we cannot win the battle for free speech, then we need to win the battle for legal parity, legal equality, which means that if there is a law banning Islamophobia, there should be a law banning Christophobia.
Yeah.
If there is a law banning transphobia, there should be a law banning Christophobia.
Yeah.
Our first idea should be to win free speech. But if that can't be won, it does not serve the cause of the church to accept an inequality in law that is imposed upon us without demanding equality in law. Don't make yourself a dhimmi. Don't choose to be a dhimmi. Don't accept dhimmitude. Don't accept the double standards of the elites. Call them out on their hypocrisy. Demand why the Channel 4 news presenter anchors will talk about transphobia, but they never speak about Christophobia. Yeah. Why do they talk about Islamophobia, but they never speak about Christophobia? Put it in the comments on their web pages. Put it in the comments on YouTube. Call out the hypocrisy for what it is and the double standards. Christians, you have to become active. You have to become intelligent. You have to play the game that is being played against you. If we can't secure free speech for everybody, we need to secure legal parity for ourselves vis-a-vis other communities. Become active or become the victim. That's your choice.
Thank you, Rob.